Welcome everybody, my name is Coach Hayes. Today we're going to be looking at how to play Brawl Composition. This is a match from the Steelseries Invitational. We have London Spitfire here, the European team, and I have LA Gladiators. This was 2-1 to London in the series. I believe London had mostly played Brawl throughout the series. They were defaulting to the Brawl a lot. So they were really favoring the Brawl Composition here. And so this was a great game because it showcased how Gladiators started to pull this series back and started to adapt to the way London played on the Brawl Composition. So throughout the video, I'm going to do my best to explain a lot of the concepts of how to play Brawl so you can go away yourself and also learn and implement this maybe in your team or maybe even if you're playing in ranked games. This definitely should be good for you.
Right now, I think birdwing on Mccree would be good. I just don't think the Sombra play has been going well for them. And we'll see what London want to do.
All right, so
come out here. Mostly I want to see what Blase wants to do because when he was getting a lot of
the Diva comes out to scout. I believe they're scouting so they can understand what they have. If they have maybe some sort of spam composition, I assume London probably aren't going to play this. They're maybe going to play like a more divey composition to try and abuse that. But I'm pretty sure they are just happy with playing this Brawl matchup, right? They're happy with playing the Brawl v Brawl. So they scout, they see that they're on Brawl, and they're happy to meet head on and fight with the Brawl here. And take this, because obviously they're confident in this matchup. This is one of their strongest matchups, so they are confident with this one.
So far as May has been rock solid.
So they scout. Gladiators go with an early wall. Kevster goes with a really early wall to try and deny the rotation. London a little bit early on the wall there.
Like editing a map is a good hero ability.
And so London decide to come around this left side here. Now this is going to be tough for them, right? Because if we think about Brawl Composition, Brawl Composition is extremely strong, and Reinhardt in general is extremely strong holding choke points. He is incredibly good at holding choke points. So for them to push 6 people through this extremely narrow choke now is going to be a tall order. It's going to be tough. It's going to be very tough. Because, you know, London are not able to spread out and take space, and that's typically what you want to be doing when you're pushing choke points, is you want to be spreading out and getting the space. If you try and cram your team into one choke point, what's going to happen? You're going to get hit by multiple people are going to get hit by a Rein swing. You're going to get hit by May freezes. Your Mccree is going to be able to flashbang. A lot of AoE damage is going to come down onto your team, so it's definitely going to be tough for London to push through. Okay, so Blase goes with the wall. Now, we can talk a little bit about the cooldowns of how you play this composition. Let's talk about some of the notable cooldowns. So, May Wall is an incredibly important cooldown, right? Because, like we said, choke points are the key here. So if you can isolate off somebody with a wall like this, this is now rendering the rest of LA Gladiators' team ineffective until they can break through this wall. So this is they're basically making this a 6v1 for a short amount of time here so that they can collapse onto Muse and potentially get this kill. So May Wall is a very, very high value cooldown in the Brawl versus Brawl matchup. Just because of the fact you can isolate off a target and focus down that target with the May Wall. So a good May player, you need to see May Walls, which is going to isolate, where it's difficult for the enemies to break through. And it's hard for them to get around the wall and support the Rein. Because that's what Glads are going to rush to do right now. They're going to try their best to get around this wall and support Muse the best they can. Okay, so May Wall is a notable cooldown. Very, very notable cooldown. Other cooldowns that are extremely important in the Brawl matchup is going to be your Bap drone, right? Your Bap drone is good for countering the enemy May Wall. It's good for supporting your Rein when he is in dire need of help. It's like a second life for your Rein if your Baptiste is disciplined with using it. Obviously, after your shield's down, after your Matrix is down, after your cooldowns have been spent, that's where you initiate the drone to obviously save your frontliners, to save your Rein, and to save anyone that potentially needs that help. So Baptiste in general is a very strong hero, and he does synergize very well with the Brawl. He has the aura, he has the amp aura. He has the AoE healing with the right click if your teammates are stacked together. So Baptiste also incredibly strong. And then you throw in the window there as well. And window just enables you to have more distance and range with your Brawl Composition. So in general, Baptiste fits into Brawl Composition absolutely perfectly. So Baptiste drone is one of the other cooldowns. Every single cooldown in this comp synergizes so well with Brawl. So obviously Lucio amp and Lucio speed. This is probably the most fundamental ability of the composition. Lucio speed is what makes this composition work. Your Reinhardt needs a Lucio speed to be more effective, to get multiple swings, to go forward, to disengage. He needs that Lucio speed. And obviously Lucio amp is also incredibly strong. And if we think about how Lucio can be effective in this comp, he can also be effective via wall rides and booping enemies from certain positions. So for example, he can wall ride onto the walls. He can boop the enemy Rein towards your team if he wants to displace the Rein into your team. And then if he wants to boop the enemy Rein away from your team, maybe as a defensive option, that's also something that's viable. Diva. London Spitfire really liked running Diva here, mostly because Diva is very versatile in what she can do. Diva's incredibly strong at supporting Rein. She's incredibly strong at denying the enemy Mccree. If the enemy Mccree decides to go for an off angle, this is something you will probably see later on during the series. Maybe Burdering's going to take an off angle, maybe Shax is going to take an off angle, and this Diva is just able to kind of keep that off angle in check. If you have a Zarya, you have no way of closing the distance to that Mccree if he does decide to off angle. So Diva is also very, very good for denying off angles from enemy Mccrees. And in general, Diva's just really strong in the Brawl, right? She has good damage. If you're close range, you're fighting close range. She has defensive capabilities with the Matrix to support your Rein. She has boot potential if the enemy Rein pushes too far. I can give you an example of what I mean by this. So this is where Diva also finds value, right? So let's do a hypothetical here. So let's just say for a moment that Gladiators have decided to hold on point. Right, let's actually go here. Yeah, because this is where we're looking right now. So it's purely hypothetical, but this is what your Diva would try and do, right? If London are trying to push out, if Diva positions with the Rein, what's going to happen? The defending Rein is going to get a swing on both Diva and Rein. So what your Diva is going to do most likely is she's going to take an off angle from the enemy Rein. Now, what is this off angle achieving? Well, this off angle is shooting the Rein from the side, meaning that Rein has to hold his shield at a diagonal. Otherwise, if he holds his shield like this, what's happening? He's getting shot in the side from the enemy Diva. So this is just pressure with the positioning. He's positioning this way so that their Rein is under pressure. And if their Rein decides to go forward here, he's going to be getting shot in the back by the Diva. Like this. And the Diva also has the option of getting also a lot more value from looking for a boop from behind on the enemy Rein in. Right? Imagine you're playing the Rein and you get booped from behind from a Diva who's off-angling you, and you get booped further into the team. It's then going to be harder for you to disengage this and get away to safety. So this is also one of the things that Diva is very, very good for, and that Zarya, you know, Zarya to me is a bit of a glass cannon hero. It's like you're less versatile on the hero. Sure, you have more damage. Sure, you have a nice ult that combos well with the grav. But Diva just is so good and so versatile. She can do almost everything that you need her to do in this comp. So I'd say Diva's a lot more of a well-rounded pick than the Zarya is. So we talked about Bap, we talked about Lucio briefly, we talked about Diva, what Diva can do. Obviously as well, Diva bomb is huge in the Brawl, right? You can set up combos like freeze shatter, Diva bomb hard engage, which maybe shatter, Diva bomb shatter, Mayult Diva bomb. You can set up a lot of various different combos, and obviously Diva is an incredibly strong hero. Rein, I don't think I need to say too much about Rein. Rein is just a staple in this Brawl. He is what enables the team to go forward. He's able to swing, he's able to put pressure, and he's able to shield up effectively. Very mobile shield tank in comparison to tanks like Orisa, which is why you're running the Rein. And Shatter is also incredibly strong. Rein is so good in the Brawl composition, right? He's pretty much the staple of this composition. So, yep. Mei. Let's talk about Mei. So, the same way I mentioned how Diva can find value, you have a similar role on the Mei. So let's again use this example as a hypothetical, and let's say that they're trying to push through. They're trying to push through here, and they're getting hold on this corner. Obviously, this team, London, are trying to get in. Now, Mei and Diva are going to take off angles in similar position. They just want to position on an off angle to their Rhine. Because if they position with their Rhine, they're going to get swung down. So why position with your Rhine when you can position on a slight off angle from your Rhine, and you can create more space and more pressure with your positioning? If they're playing here, what space are they creating? Ryan's just shielding the front. He's shielding the damage. He's shielding the freeze. He's shielding the boosters. And he's not at risk of getting booped. Whereas when you start positioning your Mei somewhere like this, it is a lot harder for this Ryan to move in now, because what's happening if he moves in? He's going to be taking a fat freeze to the side of the ribs, and he's going to be forced to disengage back and move back away from this Mei. So you're positioning like this on Mei to punish the enemy Ryan and force the enemy Ryan to go back, while also controlling space and denying this Ryan from moving in. Now, obviously in this situation, like, the enemy Mccree are just playing passively, but I'm only showing you this as a hypothetical example to explain what you should be aiming to do on the Mei and what you should be aiming to do on the Diva. You're trying to take off-angle positions from your Rhine and the enemy Rhine, where you can put pressure from the side and force their Rhine to either go forward and die or back off and survive, therefore creating more space for your team. A lot of people have the misconception that playing Brawl is just, you speed in, you get in there, you just pray you're going to win the fight. That's not true. It's all about formation. You're taking a formation which is enabling you to go forward and take more space as a team. So Mei is taking an off angle. Now, Mei has a lot of survivability here as well. She has shift if she gets pushed. She has freeze. She has wall. She's able to control this position. Let's talk a little bit about Mccree. So typically, I think Mccree has a role in this comp where he also needs to be flanking, right? Because let's say you're playing Mccree and you're just playing behind the team here. You're shooting shield. You don't particularly want to be shooting shield as Mccree. You want to be looking for those key targets, right? Your job as a DPS is to create space by killing maybe supports, by killing DPS. Tanks, they're not a priority kill. Sure, if you kill a tank, it's good, but as a DPS, you want to be looking to kill off the supports, because obviously you're cutting off the main source of healing for the rest of the team, and then there's no way they win with no BAP. So you're looking to find positions on the Mccree here where you can find an angle, maybe pressure the supports. Now, in this situation, it's probably going to be difficult, right? Which off angle can this Mccree take safely where he can put pressure on the BAP and the Lucio? There aren't too many positions. And sometimes it's going to be this way, that you don't have many positions to flank, but you want to be trying to find positions to flank. Now, if we maybe readjust the fight a little bit here and we say, okay, the team's actually positioning on the backer point here. They're kind of taking a defensive position on the backer point. Maybe they're split off like this. Where could you position your Mccree now if you're the attacking team? So let's say that this is the kind of formation before the fight. Teams are setting up for the fight. The Mei Diva's on the right side. Which off-angle position could your Mccree take, which is somewhat safe, right? Because if he comes up here, what's going to happen? He's potentially just going to get shifted on by the Diva. So he needs to be sure that the Diva is far enough away from him that he can deal with this Diva. If you're positioning too close on the Mccree, the Diva is simply going to shift towards you with full matrix, block your flashbang, and then she's potentially going to kill you. So you need to be playing at a distance on the off angle where Diva is going to have a tough time pressuring you. Now, I want to be clear, right? If you're playing this and you're playing in, I don't know, Platinum, you can probably get away with this play because their Diva is not going to know that her job is to contest you. This is strictly at the highest level where Mccrees cannot get away with this because they're going to get pressured out. But yeah, this off angle basically let's just say Mccree is taking top. His teammates start to push in. We start to move in as a team. We start to look to brawl engage. And then the Mccree is taking this position. Now maybe it's going to be a little bit easier for the Mccree because this Diva is maybe going to be occupied here. She's maybe going to be occupied with dealing with the Rhine. And again, this is all hypothetical, but this is my way of trying to show you and give you an understanding of how this comp is played and how it should be played. With the Baptiste, it's not like you have a Moira here. You do have long-range healing with the Bap. So you can take these slight off-angle positions with your Mccree, with your Mei, with your Diva, and you're still able to heal them, you're still able to support them. So this is one of the... Well, this is the way that Mccree should be playing this composition. He should be playing to find positions where he can go for a couple shots onto a support, onto a DPS, and look for that pick. So let's give you a bit more in depth, because I feel like we skimmed over Lucio a little bit here, and I think we can maybe talk a little bit more about Lucio. So Lucio's job, like I mentioned before, he's looking for boops. So let's, again, another hypothetical. Let's say that we look for a wall. Maybe the wall is ineffective. That's fine. Where can Lucio wall ride here, where he's able to look for a boop and pressure onto the enemy Ryan? He can look for a wall ride on this position. He can wall ride over. He can play on this corner. He can boop the enemy Ryan in and maybe come back. And this is where we can maybe look for a collapse, right? Lucio is just playing on high ground positions where he can look for effective boops onto the enemy Ryan and onto the enemies into his team. Now, it doesn't just have to be Ryan. Your job as a Lucio here is to control the position that's most relevant to your team. So the reason this position is most relevant here is because this is the position where he can go for these boops on the Diva backwards, maybe, on the Ryan in to his team, forcing that Ryan to kind of get positioned out of cover and into danger here, meaning that he's going to have to disengage away. So this is kind of your job on the Lucio. You want to be looking for high value boops, similar to the Goats meta. You want to be playing on the strong high ground positions where you can look for these boops and you can pressure the enemy Reinhardt with boops, and also any enemies that are out of position with the boops. Why is Baptiste more effective than Ana for Brawl? Baptiste is just a better hero overall. He has good damage. He has Drone, which is one of the most strongest abilities in Overwatch. He has Amp, which is incredibly strong for Brawl. AoE healing. His right clicks are also AoE. How crazy is that? His right clicks are also AoE. What can Ana do? She can, fire off a few darts, but they're not AoE. She's not AoE healing. You're gonna get overwhelmed when you're playing the Ana, and you're gonna, with Baps, you're gonna get so much AoE healing down with the Amp and also with the right click that it's just so much better to play the Bap. Bap in general is just a way stronger hero than Ana. Unfortunately, Ana is just a pretty weak hero. If I also want to make a case for Baptiste, or make a case against Ana, is that all of Ana's shots are probably going to get matrixed. Imagine you're playing the Ana and you're healing your Ryan, and the enemy Diva is also hard matrixing your Ryan. He's getting 0 heals. 0 heals. So unfortunately, guys, Ana is just a bit of a poopy hero. That being said, you can still play Ana if you want to. Just Bap is a better version. Okay, so we talked about Lucio, we talked about Mccree, we talked about Diva, we talked about Mei. Baptiste is fairly straightforward. Baptiste just needs to focus on surviving, playing in a position where he can heal all of his teammates, and surviving really. And when he is looking for an amp, go forward slightly, get into a position where you can have that amp, but don't ever put yourself in risk of dying here on the bat, because your job is just to survive and keep the team alive. Okay, very in-depth segment there. Let's actually get into some of the review now, and let's watch how these teams are playing. So we see the wall coming down. Muse is just turtling up in this corner right now. He's literally just turtling in this corner. Why is he turtling in this corner? Because of this reason. He understands that he's walled off. His only way of surviving this is he's not going to be able to get away from this. He's just trying to survive here. Right? What is a Reinhardt's job? A Reinhardt's job is to make space for his team. So by positioning in this corner, Muse is basically saying, if you guys want to come through, you're going to have to fight me first. That's the way he's creating space here. And so what he basically does in this corner here is he just starts turtling up in the corner. He gets a Zarya bubble, and he just says, all right, well, you're going to have to try and kill me. He's just full shielding up, right? Full shielding up. And then obviously what's happening, this wall is eventually breaking when they're in. I'm not sure how the enemy Mccree died, because we can't see that on the replay, but I'm guessing that the time that London was spending trying to deal with Muse, this is where Glads are containing all of them inside of this choke point, right? Inside of this small area, this is where they're containing them, and this is where Shax does get picked off by Space.
Shax's dead. Everybody frozen. Blase turns into a license.
And in this comp, when the Rein's dead, it's pretty damn tough. Pretty damn tough to win the fight. Especially in this comp, it's like if you lose one, it's there must be like a huge percentage chance of just closing out the rest of the fight.
Yeah, so I think they had the wall a little bit past it there, but then the Gladiators were just able to break it down and get through it. So second verse, same as the first, wall to get in. Wait a second.
Okay, so notice how so far the only two things I've been talking about are positioning and cooldown usage. I haven't talked anything about ultimates yet. Now, ultimates are an extremely key part of this composition. Based on what ultimates you have, it dictates how fast or slow you should be playing, how aggressive or defensive you should be playing. So Ripper's getting close to this window, so we're seeing here London are playing a little bit slow, taking a little bit of damage, and they're just trying to get any win condition they can here for this fight, because one window is going to create problems here for Gladiators. So they're just waiting for that window. You see that? They went for the Fire Strike window combination. They almost one-shot Space. You see the damage there from Space? Full health. Look at the coordination on this. Window, Fire Strike. He's 2 bars. Since Glads are playing the Zarya, would you say it's worth for Shax to stay behind at the main choke for an off angle, even though the LOS might not be the best? I think, yeah, maybe. Maybe, Amir. Maybe. That's definitely an option. Okay, so they go with the window. They do manage to kill Space. Let's have a look again what happened here. So they use Fire Strike window. They get walled off by Kevster. Space gets picked off. I think Space was maybe... Yeah, he just got shot by Bap actually there. Yeah, he got shot by Bap. So Spitfire go aggressively. They use the wall to again zone off the rest of Glads. Birdwing goes with a high noon. Glads also go with the window. Nice disengage there from London. They disengage and then they push back in. Blaze's going super aggressive here. I think mostly because Space is maybe still not here, so he's just going super ham. They break the shield, shield's down, they go for the shatter, and it should be a cleanup. The Muse is down, they get the shatter, Birdwing gets a pick on Calyx, Blaze's pushing forward, Kevster goes for the wall off. There may be a potential for them to clutch this, if they're actual Chads. That's an incredibly risky beat.
That was a very close cancel there on the beat. However, even unless you're going with a beat, that was a very close cancel there on the beat.
So Kevster goes for, they go hard with this. They go for the beat. They try and win this. Kevster's running there. You see that he's running straight towards the Diva here. Trying to freeze the Diva, gets the freeze and goes instantly for the Blizzard. If Morphic's frozen, he isn't doing shit. He's not stopping this. And because of that beat, it kind of herded all of London into this corner. Nice wall there to block off the drone. And this is a nice cleanup actually. This is a nice initiative there from Glads. It's definitely a risky play, but nice initiative there.
It's just like a carnival game. Just line them up and knock them down. It's headshot after headshot. Easy peasy. And just like that, 2 fights in, and we're at 90 seconds, actually below it. So London's...
Good news is for London, they didn't really invest too much there.
Anubis comes down to this, they will have a blizzard of their own.
Have beat coming up. They have Window, Mccree ult,
Not a lot left for the
May
Gladiators, though,
ult,
because they were coming in late,
Diva
so they
bomb.
had to burn some ults.
Glads do have a couple of ults to respond with this. They have Grav and Baptiste ult. Now, one thing in this comp is you need to understand if you have ult advantage or not. So I call it the Brawl Advantage. What I mean by the Brawl Advantage is if you run 1,000 simulations, right, on an open plane map, and you run one team with LA Gladiators ults, one team with London Spitfires ults, which team comes out on top most of the time? That's the question. So if we look at London Spitfires ults, it's probably safe to say here that if London go super aggressive, they go into Gladiators, they force a fight, they're going to be favored here in this situation. So I would say here, London Spitfire have the Brawl Advantage. London Spitfire, they have the Diva Matrix to be able to deal with this grab from Glads. They have Mail, which is incredibly strong. They have Beat. They have Window. They have High Noon. They have so many ults to work with here. They have so much potential for what they can do here. On the side of Glads, they have Grav and Window to work with. So Glads definitely have a lot less to work with here. So it's going to be a little bit harder for them. I think we're probably going to see London go super aggressive here, just because of the ults they have available. They're going to go hard. And I know for a fact that London, Paddy is an incredibly good shot caller. Paddy is known for how good his shot calling is and how good his game sense is. So I know for a fact that Paddy's leading this team and he's communicating, you know, what the plan is. And we see how aggressive they're going. And this is also the other weakness of playing the Zarya, right? Is your Mail is just unchecked. Your Mail is just totally unchecked here. The Zarya can't do shit to stop this. You can save your bubbles and try and get away, but when you're saving bubbles, it means your Rein has to play more defensive, therefore giving up more space on the map. So this is also another weakness of running the Zarya, is you just have nothing to stop this.
Ooh, that is a very good wall, however.
And look at that. Your Rein gets taken down, even through the window. They use wall, a nice wall off onto Muse. They go for the Mail. And yeah, this should be a cleanup. And so we saw how aggressive they're playing there. That is because they understood that they have the advantage in a brawl versus brawl fight. They understood that they're going to have the advantage. They're favored in this brawl versus brawl. Just because of ultimates, right? And so there's something I like to call, like, this is called the 3-fight concept, right? So the first, we've explained this already, but the first one is positioning. Excuse my handwriting. Positioning. This is the first of the 3-fight concept. The second one is cooldown. Cooldowns. So how you're positioning, how you're using your cooldowns. The third one is ultimates. Right? So in fights where you don't have ultimates, you only have to worry about these two. Positioning and cooldowns. I realize my camera's in the way, but it's fine. Second one is cooldowns. First one, positioning. When you don't have ultimates available, you don't have to worry about ultimates at all. You only have to focus on positioning and cooldowns. Now, when your ultimates are available, ultimates dictate how you're using the first two. The ultimates dictate how you're using your cooldowns and how you're positioning. This is why ultimates are so strong in Overwatch, because they are the strongest ability. And they should really dictate how you're using your cooldowns, how you're positioning. Because obviously if the enemy has Grav Dragon, right, you're not going to be clumping together as a team. You're going to be changing your position because of what the enemy ultimates have. If you have ults to be aggressive, you're not going to be positioning defensively. You're going to be going aggressively. You're going to be using speed aggressively. You're going to be walling aggressively. You're going to be using your cooldowns aggressively based on what ults you have. So it's important you understand ultimates are the key in Overwatch. You need to understand. And this is like definitely high level stuff. That's going to be hard for people below GM. But it's definitely something you need to be aware of. Ultimates are the key with Overwatch. You need to be aware. Are you in a position where you can be aggressive because you have the ult advantage? Or are you in a position where you need to be more defensive because you don't have that ult advantage?
There's the high noon, there's the speed boost. Look how fast the Mccree is moving. Oh, the
So if we look at this fight, who do we think has ult advantage? So they have Diva Bomb, High Noon, Shatter. Glads, I would say, probably have the ult advantage here because they have Mayult coming up here. This Mayult is going to be coming up this fight. They have Grav, Shatter, High Noon. Both teams don't have any defensives. Defensives are incredibly important in Overwatch. It is better for you to stay alive in Overwatch than it is for you to kill, right? Like, because you have more survivability. I mean, that doesn't make too much sense, but you should focus on survival in Overwatch. And so when you have defensive abilities, that just enables you to counter the enemy aggressive ults with a good defensive. So I'd say defensive ults are typically like beat are like the highest priority ults in your composition. So if I were to like pick out the primary ults in this comp, it would be your Lucio ult, your May Blizzard, and I'm not sure. I think maybe these are the two primary ults I'd go with, and then the rest of the ults are kind of secondary ults. Maybe Diva Bomb also is a primary ult. But I would say the other three are kind of secondary ults because they're a little bit weaker and they're a little bit more situational than these primary ults. So I would say Glads have the advantage here because they have this May ult, which is a primary ult, and the Grav is also a primary ult. Grav is an incredibly strong ult, so they have a good combo in here. Now, because Morphig's on the Diva, he now knows that he's obviously going to be looking for this, so he's going to be looking to try and deny this Grav. And so Space has got to be worried here about trying to get this Grav off. Nice wall there from Blase. Isolates off Muse. Murdering goes to the flank, gets punished by Shax. And so they're up 1 right now. Space goes to the Grav. Nice drone there. And this might be tough now. Spitfire have really strong position. They have gotten another pick though, so it might be tough now. They have lost 2. And we all know that the struggles of 2 CP. If you lose 1 or 2, you're in trouble.
And that heat from Morphig once again is saving them from a certain death.
Everyone's hiding. And here we see, yeah, this is going to be very, very tough now because Glads have managed to stabilize this. They haven't even given a tick either. And Blase's gone. They're going to reset. Yeah, they're going to get away from this and reset.
Doesn't guarantee you a tick on the point. The rest are going to get rolled, and unfortunately.
2 works. And London might have to just do an eco push here because they have nothing. You would like to be able to pull out at least one of the support ults for the Gladiators, but
yeah, Moth did store for a long time there. That was a nice store. So if we look at ult advantage, Glads still have the ult advantage. London don't have anything really to work with here. So we might see a style here from London where they're playing a lot more defensively to try and build ults, right? Because if they push in aggressively versus the ults of Gladiators, what's going to happen? They're going to get ward off, they're going to get ulted, they're going to die. So we're probably going to see London playing a lot more defensively here with ults. Or with positioning. They do have window, so they go forward with window aggressively. They did manage to get the window up actually, so they do go aggressive here with the window. Shu responds with the window. Kevster walls off the middle of the point. Can't exactly see what's going on in the back there. Kevster's going for a hard flank. Gets taken out. Nice wall there from Blase as well, denying that high noon. Look at Moth just stalling on this top. I don't think this is looking good for Spitfire actually.
This is looking good for Spitfire. They could do it again, but Shu comes back, finds a kill onto Shax. 1 tick has been fortunately taken by London Spitfire.
And so what did Glads invest there? They invested Shatter, a window that's already back up. I believe they invested Beat as well. They did invest Beat. Muse is down though actually, so maybe this is going to be winnable. Although they're missing Shax. Focus down. Space uses a really defensive grab here. Really defensive grab there. It's a nice grab on the corner because it's obviously hard for a Diva to avoid this. It's hard for Diva to matrix this one.
It's a good one to start with, and Hattie and Molfik are going pretty low.
But again, without this Mccree, Gladiators just doing such a good job of getting these 1 or 2 picks that just 1 or 2 picks and then stalling for the remainder of the fight. It's just that's what's causing so many problems here for London.
I mean, it was a prolonged fight. Now it is going to be a very last desperation time.
Ult economy wise, again, let's take a step back and have a look. We have May ult from London Spitfire coming available. We have Window coming available from London Spitfire. Gladiators, what do they have? They have May, and they have High Noon and Window and Beat coming up. So if I were to give one team the ult advantage here, I would say Glads have the ult advantage, because they have a lot of these key ults coming back available soon as well. And that May ult coming straight up. Now, Kevster goes for an early wall here. Blase goes for the wall. Kevster goes for the wall. He hides on an off angle and then goes straight for this May ult. Hattie drops straight off the edge, meaning that this May ult is kind of ineffective. Nice disengage there from Hattie. Kevster and Muse get taken down. Goes for the goes for the High Noon through that slither of window. They get it. I really wanted to see the replay codes for this so I could like take a look at like the actual micro positions, because it's really kind of hard to see sometimes with watching the stream with like how they're micro positioning. I mean, you see how May is taking an off angle here, right? She's taking an off angle. She's looking for an aggressive May ult. Hattie disengages it nicely. Blase also goes with a May ult that I didn't notice on the other side of that. He gets a pick on Muse. Shax takes out Kevster. Barely misses killing Blase there with a High Noon. Yeah, this should be good now. Should be a cleanup. Nice shatter from Hattie. All right, now let's see how Gladiators deal with this now. Are they going to go left side? Are they going to try and get left and take position here on the left where they're going to try and do the same push that London did? Or are they going to go main? Looks like they're going to go left. Now we can see the setup here from London. They look a bit more prepared for this. May is in the corner. Hattie's holding the front here. I can't see where Diva is, but you can see that the May is taking off angle here. She's looking for this wall in the choke point when London push through, when Gladiators push through.
You wait for it to come off cooldown. I mean, Anubis
They bubble for energy. Really disciplined there from London. They don't shoot the bubbles. This is also another reason why the Zarya is kind of abusable, because if I mean, you can just be disciplined, right, and not shoot bubbles. So they have information now that the May's on this side. They're going to try and burst through and kill Blase. I think he might be dead. He's dead. That was so nice. And this is the problem, right? This is what I didn't really want Blase to show here. I wanted Blase to kind of hide on this position.
Anubis is like the most scripted map when you have these compositions.
But this is a really, really nice flashbang. Look at the flashbang. Straight away before Mccree even comes around the corner, and he's just 100-0'd instantly. That was really, really clean. Just off the back of like Blase's positioning, they punished this. That was nice. That was really, really clean. They recognize that he's in an aggressive position, and they try and go for the 100-0 on him, and they do manage to get it off. He was taking high ground. She's putting some pressure on. Let's see where Mccree. So okay, let's take a look at the position here, right? From London. I like this position a lot, and let's see this position and look why it's a good position. So let's move the stat banana to second point so we can get an idea for what we're seeing here. Again, I'm gonna use London Spitfire as the red team just for this example to give you an idea of why this is a good position. And I actually coached a couple of my teams on this before, on this same kind of formation. So notice how we're seeing Molf playing on the bridge here. I'm not sure who he's playing with. Let's try and get an idea of who he's playing here with. I know this is a little bit scuffed, but we'll do my best here to figure out. So Hattie goes to the right side. Who's over there? Hattie's over there. I think maybe I don't know who's in main, but I'm just gonna assume that Lucio's here, Baptiste's here. Look at this formation, right? So what's happening? What's the key with this formation? The goal with this formation is that when Glads push in, they're facing 2 off-angle positions, right? If Muse wants to push forward here and push Hattie, what's happening to them? They're getting off-angled by this group. And this group, something to note here, they have the safety and position of this bridge. Right? They have the safety of this corner here, and they can use this corner, and they can play on the bridge. And if they need to drop, they can get the pack. But with their positioning, they're creating a 2-sided attack, basically, with their positioning. And they're saying, no, listen up, Glads. You're not taking control of this bridge. Because what happens if Glads get control of the bridge now? If Glads get control of this bridge, look at all the space that Glads have now. They have the space with their Mccree. They have the space with their Bap. They have this space. So London's positioning is just focused here on denying the space from Gladiators. And that is why they're positioning these 3 people on an off angle. Now, I don't know if it's exactly these 3 people or not, but I'm sure that they are positioning these people for an off angle. For that reason, that it's going to be harder for Gladiators to push in.
And they can go in without fear. Unleash the flat screen.
Hattie's backing off. Hattie gives up space. Hattie has no option but to back off here, right? So this is good from Hattie. They disengage. But this is still very winnable now. This was nice discipline there from Hattie. Because what happens if Hattie stays there? Hattie stays on point. He dives to the window, and then what? They're gonna have to retake. So discipline there from London to back off, disengage the window, and then try and retake this. And they're happy to give up ticks for this, because they're confident in their system. They're confident in their system of following Hattie's shot calling, like if we look at this, it's like a tug of war, right? Right there, we saw that. Right now, Gladiators, they're pulling the rope with this high noon. With this window, they're pulling this rope. And so what's happening? London are then giving some of the rope. They're giving the rope because they recognize here they don't have the advantage. They're going to just give this to them.
That's a drive-in, man. What kind of flat screen do you have?
2 ticks?
And now what's happening? Now we see London are like, okay, they've pulled. Now it's our turn. We're going to go pull now. And so London pushing forward now, and they're pulling the rope now. The back and forth. And you see how Blase is taking this off angle on the bridge? Because this bridge is incredibly strong to hold, right? What is this bridge providing? It's providing the off angle to both sides. So whichever team controls this position has the off angle, right? Because it means your Rhine can hide here. But if your Rhine is hiding here, the enemy Rhine cannot hide here if your Mei is controlling this position. So it's giving them a nice off angle, and he's creating good space with this position. They do get taken down.
This map is scripted and
a lot of damage to that Rhine shield.
Ultimate wise, it's kind of even right now. Like, it's kind of even. This is, yeah, they just don't have windows. They don't have any way of stopping this really. They disengage back. They give the space. Hattie gets shatter raidable. Morph gets taken out of mech. Hattie takes out space. Morph gets taken down. That wall from Kevzer was huge. Like, he's denying the high noon and the window. Yeah, I mean, honestly here, Glad's just got the ults before London did. And London kind of had to give up the space there. But Glad's, yeah, really didn't. They had total ult control there. They had total ult advantage. They played it well for sure. But it was definitely a very, very tough situation for London. They didn't have a whole lot to work with.
yeah, I mean, Burger strength that's normal.
Okay, so
don't fix it. So
how is London going to adapt now? How is London going to adapt to this? Are they going to still position Are they going to still position close? Blase in the corner? No, they're not. It's gonna. They're gonna go super aggro here. This could be really bad for them, actually. And it is pretty bad for them, actually. Okay, so they go for like a YOLO play here to try and catch Vlad's off guard. To be fair, they got a nice wall, but the problem is here, what's happening when you're trying to push through here? They're trying to make a play here. They're trying to catch Vlad's off guard here and try and get like an early pick. But the thing is with drone is your BAP is always going to be good enough to land this drone. So they're trying to get a nice wall. So this is Glads they're pushing in. Blase goes for the wall. He manages to wall the Reinhardt, but unfortunately with this wall is there are gaps around either side that people can get behind. So we see the gaps here. I'll show you. So they explode through the choke. They get the wall off, but there's like slight gaps around the side here. And also one thing to note is Kevs is already in. Kevs is already in, so it's not as if they're just walling off just Muse. It's like Kevs is already in this corner in an off angle. The Zarya's on left side. Maybe they've walled off the BAP, but Mccree I think can probably get around this wall. They are pushing through this choke. They're choosing to be the ones pushing through the choke. Now, obviously, this is a very aggressive play, and they're trying to. The surprise factor behind this play is what they're trying to win with. They're not trying to win off raw mechanics. They're trying to win off just a surprise factor, isolating off the Ryan and getting a quick kill. With risk, with a reward comes a lot of risk, and this is definitely a high risk play. They all push in. And we can kind of see like the absolute melting pot of what happens here. They go super aggressive in. Addy gets instantly frozen. The drone gets forced out. Morph gets taken out of mech. And Muse barely survives. Definitely an all-in, very aggressive play. But that's going to be it. That is going to be the end of the map. And this was second to last map of the series. I won't spoil the result of this game if you haven't seen it. If you want to go see it, go type in on YouTube Steelseries LA Gladiators versus London. But this was a very, very good series, and I think this was a great example of some of the ways that you can play the Brawl Composition. I hope this is also insightful for you guys, giving you an idea of some of the nuances, and maybe you can also take some of what I've told you today and you know implement that into your team as well. I do want to quickly plug towards the end of this video. I am doing live coaching. I am doing personal coaching over on my website, coachhaze.com. So if you're interested in getting coaching from me, individual coaching or team coaching, go ahead, check out my website. It's down in the description. But yeah, thank you guys for watching. And if you did enjoy this video, I'd really appreciate if you could drop a like on the video and maybe consider subscribing. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace.